Hello everyone, and welcome to another week of Tea with Carolina, where you get ideas to help you reach your child's unlimited potential. I have my cup of tea. I hope that you have your cup of tea. We're going to sit down and talk about a really fun topic today, brought to us courtesy of a little boy named Max, who I happen to think might be one of the cutest little redheads I have ever met. So, Kathy and Max, this one is for you. Kathy writes of her grandson Max, who is 4. She writes, Max has made huge gains in the last 7 to 9 months. He is interacting 75 to 85% or more of the time with us. That's so exciting! These changes came so fast that I'm having a hard time with the gray areas. Is Max stimming or just playing on his own? Also, he's not totally exclusive, and what I mean by that is that even when he's playing something by himself, you can get his attention, which is very hard to not want to do. Is it best to still wait for him and not introduce a game until he leads us to it? Or is it okay to try a new game as long as he is giving green lights? Always before we would build on his ism, but he will leave it now and come to me. He might look up at the toys, but I don't think he's always looking at something specific like before, but maybe looking for something new like any child would do. We are thrilled with his progress. Love, Kathy. All right, Kathy, I think that this is such a wonderful question. One, because I know Max, and I think to hear that he's playing with you that much is so exciting. If you haven't met me yet and you're watching these videos for the first time, you will know that one of the things I adore is hearing all of the amazing things your kids do. So, hooray, Kathy, I'm so excited about what Max is doing. And I think this is a really great question. So I want to answer it in a specific way. One is I want to explain what it means, a gray area, because I think you clearly understand that, but a new parent might not. So let me explain. When a child is playing with you, spending time with you, you're in his bedroom together or in a playroom together, there will be times where he is with you, interacting with you clearly. He's looking at you or talking to you or engaging with you in a game. And then there will be times where he is not engaging with you. And one of the things that I believe in very strongly is that our children need to be the ones who decide when they're ready to learn, when they're ready to play. So in this example, Kathy, I know you've seen times where Max is not playing with you. Maybe he was overdoing a puzzle by himself, or he was reading a book by himself, and that time would have been really exclusive, meaning that his whole focus would have been only on the book. Now, what you're talking about is so wonderful. He has so much more attention to you. 75 to 85% of the time is fantastic. I know that's a huge growth for him. So wonderful on that. So what we're talking about here, the gray area, is this space maybe in between the two. As kids start to develop more, as Max has done, what I see, like you're seeing, Kathy, is that it starts to become unclear. Is he really with you? Like, is he really ready to play? Or is he still on his own and needing time to have that break? So I want to address it specifically this way. If it's ever clear that he needs time on his own and needs that break, then absolutely I'm going to give that to him. So if he's reading his book, then I'm going to read my book in the corner to really give him some space and some time to rest and chill and re-energize his body and his social system and his brain to be able to play with you later. But what you're talking about is the time where you're not sure. So let me tell you what I'm hearing. You wrote, is it best to still wait for him and not introduce a game until he leads us to it? Or is it okay to try a new game as long as he is giving green lights? I think this is where it's most important to start. It's important that Max starts the interaction, but you can start the game. So, if Max is not completely 100% on his own reading his own book, but instead is giving you a green light, like you say, or sometimes we talk about like an open door, or an open window, or a little peek over at you. So maybe he's reading his book, but he looks over at you, or he makes a sound in your direction that you think maybe he's trying to tell you something. At any of those green lights, absolutely, Kathy, you can start the game. He does not have to start the game. He simply has to start the interaction. He has to show you that he's ready to be with you. And in Max's case, what you're describing right now, those gray areas, I wonder if that's because you're seeing green lights, like he's reading a book, but he looks at you a lot. And you're wondering if it's gray because he's not saying, hey, I want to play this other game. He's not showing you or telling you what else he wants to do. To me, he doesn't have to show you what he wants to do. He only has to show you that he's interested in you. So either he looks over at you from his book, and he looks and peeks over at you, or he puts his book down and stands up and looks at the toys up in the room. Any of those examples, to me, show that he's done with his activity that he was doing on his own, and he's now interested in you. So absolutely, if he looks over at you, you can start a new game. You could offer something that you would like to play. What's important, Kathy, is that he starts the interaction. So like you said, even when he's playing something by himself, you can get his attention, which is very hard not to want to do. I think it's really important that if he is playing by himself and it's his own time where he's not interactive with you, that we still do really respect that, give that the space that it needs. So that means I'm not going to interrupt what he's doing to say, hey, play my game, right? I'm going to wait until he interacts with me before I then suggest something we could do together. So maybe you really loved when you were a kid doing treasure hunts. My sister and I did this all the time. We had a box of plastic beads that we'd collected over the years, of little plastic necklaces, and we thought they were the most amazing things ever. We would take this box and we'd go and hide it in different places in the house, or sometimes we'd even go bury it in the yard. And then we'd make a map to go find the box. The thing was, we already knew where the box was. It wasn't like my sister hid it and then I looked for it. We both hid the box, and then we had a whole adventure riding horses and camping and bringing our food, pretending it took days to find the treasure. So let's say you really loved treasure hunts when you were little. You could bring in a treasure hunt with Max. So when Max is doing something by himself, but then he looks over at you and he shows an interest in you, or he gets up and seems like he's looking for something else to do, that's your cue. You get to say, hey, look, I have a treasure map. And maybe you have something hidden in the room and you go, look, the first clue says we have to look underneath the trampoline. And so you start creating this treasure hunt game. And your excitement and your passion and your joy for the game are what invites Max to come and do it with you, after he's already shown interest in interacting with you. I think that's the most important part. All right, so 2 other quick things to note here. Number 1, if you're really not sure, because you're right, Max might not be actually isming, he might just be interested in reading a book. Maybe a year ago, when he was reading a book, he was completely exclusive to you. But now, maybe he's much more able to be with you, and he's just reading a book. Maybe you're not sure if he's actually isming. So I think part 1 is definitely initiate games and start games after Max starts an interaction. That's the first part. But part 2 is make sure you check in with your intention. If Max might be interested in you and you kind of get a sign or some sense that he's interested in you, he's not exclusive, go ahead. I think it's totally fine to experiment with that. But it's important to experiment while being aware of your intention. If Max is reading a book, and he's been reading a book for a little while, but I keep getting the sense that he's looking over interested in me, and maybe he's actually open to playing with me right then. Maybe I have that sense. Absolutely, you could experiment and say something like, hey, Max, I don't know if you wanted to read your book or if you wanted to play my treasure hunt game. I have it here in case you want it. But it's important that your intention is simply to offer, because you're not sure. Maybe Max is open and interested, like you said. Maybe he's not actually isming. Totally understand that. But if you're going to experiment with, hey, were you playing with me or were you playing by yourself? It's really important that you're not thinking, oh, I really wish that Max wouldn't read his book because I am just so tired of sitting here reading his book and I really would love for him to play with me sooner. Now, I'm not saying, Kathy, that you're thinking any of these things, but it's important. Are you offering your game because you're bored with Max having his own time? Or are you really fine with Max having his own time and then, you're just not sure, so you want to make sure you offer a game just in case, happily, easily, but unattached to Max playing with you, right? So I hope that makes sense. Part one is definitely look for those green lights, and if you have a green light, absolutely offer a game. Definitely. You could create all kinds of fun stuff that you guys could do together. Why not? After he gives you a green light or an open door to interact with you, then definitely offer those games. But if you don't have an actual green light, but you think that maybe Max is open and interested in you, then go ahead and experiment, but make sure that your intention is all about helping Max in an easy, relaxed way, rather than trying to force or make play happen. All right, I hope that helps, Kathy, and I hope that for all of you who have cute little ones, just like Max, or really handsome or beautiful big kids, like all the other kids that I know, I really feel like these ideas could be helpful to you. If you're respecting your child's need to be alone, you're going to get so much more out of the play that you have together. But once you do have that open door to playing with you, go for it. Create play. Show your children how much fun you are and how much fun it would be to play with you. I hope that helps, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you've enjoyed your tea with me. And if you have a question for your child and your specific situation, make sure you click the link below and ask me a question, and maybe, just maybe, I will answer your question next week. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.